Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch Spoilercast for the Best Picture at the 93rd Academy Awards, Nomadland. I'm Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
Aroo! I think that was wasn't it a wolf cry? Francis
It was a wolf
did
cry,
on that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, please be aware that we will be freely discussing anything and everything about the plot, themes, and ending of the film, so if you haven't watched it, come back later. So with that said, let's jump into our discussion of Nomadland, directed by Chloé Zhao, based on Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century by Jessica Bruder, starring Frances McDormand, David Strathairn, I'm going to go with, Linda May, Swankie, and Bob Wells. A woman in her 60s who, after losing everything in the Great Recession, embarks on a journey through the American West, living as a van-dwelling modern-day nomad. Dylan, what did you think of Nomadland?
This is the second time I've watched it for this. I watched it in the cinema a couple months ago, and I really enjoyed it then. Enjoyed on the rewatch. I really like this movie. I think that's not to say it isn't without faults and points of discussion. I know, like, the hot topic for this movie has been around Amazon's depiction within the film, and I'd certainly get all of those conversations. But for me, I just think it's a very human movie, just about people trying to survive and, move on after death, within life, and literally someone losing everything. And I think, like, it's both a very American movie, because it's, it very much feels it's in America. Like, you could not have this.
Well, I guess you could have it in Australia because we're so big. I think, but really it doesn't work the same. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just so much about this movie that just feels like it's ground floor American, and so in that regard, it's kind of hard to relate fully to a lot of the characters and things or whatever else. But I just think on a human level, I think the movie works, like, just as a, like, compassion for human type thing. And that's what I really like about it. I think that, of course, the acting's fantastic. Frances won an Oscar for it. Cinematography is fantastic. It's edited really well as well by Chloe, who did the editing as well. Yep. So, and the main complaints people have for the movie, aside from the hot topic I was bringing up before, Amazon, like, just from a movie point of view, the complaints are it doesn't have a story or that typical sort of thing. Like, you look through, if you have to look for a hot take Twitter user review or something like that, it'll be that it's boring, doesn't actually have a narrative, and I'll argue with that straight away.
Pretty sure for anyone who said that on an episode,
did he? I can't remember. If we actually talked about it. The movie starts out with someone locking up everything, all their belongings, because they're unable to fully commit to moving on yet. Like, they're being forced to move on. And they have to put all their belongings because they're not quite ready to give up everything. Like, they're being forced to move because the town's literally shutting down. Which in its own, that concept I still find crazy. The fact that the government can be like, look, this town, delete. It's just like stuff like that can happen. And at the end of the movie, what happens? The character goes back. They get rid of. They're finally ready to properly move on. That's how I take the movie. So to say there's, like, not an actual character narrative or, like, any sort of progression, I completely disagree. So anyway, I gave it a 9 on Trakt. That'd be what the score I give it. I really like it. I think it was deserving of Best Picture. Now hit me with your, because I actually don't know if you like this or not. I have no idea. I could not predict.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It is oddly engrossing, even though, like you said, it doesn't have a very strong narrative. I think, obviously, Frances McDormand is great. I think, from what I can gather, it's only her and David who are proper actors.
I think the family are actors too.
Oh, yeah, the family, yeah.
I think all the nomads are
actual nomads, yeah.
Yeah. But I think, like, David's family is actors as well. And then maybe some of the,
I think
other random people.
I think Peter's the son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a producer and actor, so...
Yeah, and I think, like, some of the random people, like, the woman who comes out to tell her that she, it's getting cold outside the gas station. I can't remember her name, but, like, she's popped up in a few other things. So, like, but the main cast of Nomads aren't real actors.
Which is a plus and a minus, I think. Some of the scenes don't... Some of it feels a little bit forced. Or like they're playing up for the camera. But then there's also a lot of super honest moments.
Did you read the trivia?
No, I didn't.
So I remember, because I didn't know they were real nomads, and I'm sitting in the cinema watching it for the first time, and it comes up, Swankie and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? So as soon as I'm leaving the theater, of course, I go straight to IMDb to look up if this was just legit people. And the first piece of trivia you can find on IMDb is no, not that one. Many of Frances McDormand's co-stars, such as Charlie, Swankie, and Bob Wells had no idea she's a Hollywood star. Bob still did not know this until they had an emotional scene in which Fern remembers her late husband, Beau. Afterward, he said to McDormand privately that it meant a lot for her to tell him that story and that everything was going to be okay. She subsequently revealed to him that her husband's name was actually Joel Cohen and he was still alive, which surprised Bob as he learned that McDormand was in fact an actress. So, yeah.
He thought he was in a documentary.
He thought he was in a doco. Which says something about the way they filmed the movie. They were filming it like it was a doco, basically. Yeah.
I think that kind of makes Frances McDormand's performance even more impressive, when really it's, I'm sure to a certain degree, a lot of improv when she's playing against these kind of people, especially that scene, which was, I think, shown during the Oscars, of Bob sort of talking about his son dying.
His life.
Yeah, and then hoping to see him again down the road and that kind of thing. I will say, very impressive. That is probably the first Best Picture winner in which the main character urinates and shits in the film on camera. Safe to say.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, like you said, beautifully shot, beautifully scored as well, I think. But yeah, I can see how it wouldn't be for everybody. It is quite slow, but like I said, it's oddly engrossing. Watching this person take on this brand new lifestyle, and kind of, as the movie progresses, one kind of moving on, but that's never, I don't think that's ever the focus. It's more her, not so much her moving on, it's embracing her new life and potentially realizing this was what she was meant to be doing all along.
Yeah. Because you know what I mean, like, about her, because I really feel like it's important that the movie starts with her storing that stuff there.
Yes.
Because in reality, why is she doing that? Like, the whole idea that she'll come back one day and grab it all and take it. Like, it's just holding on hope and, like, keeping all of her husband's things. Like, a lot of it that maybe she doesn't even need, Like, it is that thing. And then the fact the film ends with that moment, I think it plays both ways, as her moving on, but also her fully embracing. Yeah. Fully committing to this. Maybe you want to attach the ending, because, like, not to throw her a bus, like, but just for the sake of the only other person I talked to this movie about was Shree when I watched it with her. Cinema. She's I'm just like, because the only other person I'm talking to this. No, it's fine. We're walking out of cinema. She's like, "Well, what'd you think?" I'm like, "I really liked it," and she said that she, was a bit disappointed with the ending because, she's like, "Oh, is she gonna go back and see that guy?" Blah, like that sort of thing. And my answer then was
no.
I don't know, and it doesn't matter for the movie. It doesn't matter. Like, if you were to tell me, I think that she's going to go back to him and she's in love with him, I would go, cool. No. That's one way to take it. If you were to tell me that she's going to travel to Antarctica, that's fine. That's not way if you could you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter to me it doesn't matter what her destination is. It's more so that wherever she goes now, she would be, I just think that Fern is a character now by the end of the movie who would be more open to being an actual relationship, being like trying to like properly sort of like not being scared of, I don't know, like
really? I got the opposite where she desperately wants to be free. She doesn't want to be tied down anywhere. Which is
I'm not saying she's looking for it, but I think she would be more open to it if like.
I think she was more attracted to David when he was a nomad driving around in his van. And that's why she obviously has that moment in the house where she's like,
I don't want this.
She pretty much runs away.
Yeah. Which I get that as well, but I just mean, like, I'm not saying she's going straight there because I don't think she is, but I just think that now that she's sort of off that path, it means that 2-3 years from now, she could have the same moment that he did, which is that he was in that state of, I never thought I would sleep under a roof again. And then he finds something, which is his son having that family. And that's obviously the thing that grounds him and sort of helps him or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, because she kind of runs away, and then you have that whole sequence of her, you know, Amazon, New Year's, going back to the group nomad thing, you know, like, is that what she's going to do forever? Just on purpose, with forcibly ignore any opportunity to, I don't know, do anything else different, you know? Because especially I feel like there's other scenes where, with the kid, you know, the cigarette kid.
Yes.
She's like, because I feel like that, I think on surface value that scene is, you could take it as she's just being like, you should go home, you're a young kid. But I think really that scene to me plays off more. And maybe this is in the second rewatch, I was thinking about it more. I'm like, what is the purpose of this scene other than to say, like, she's sort of, it's throwing out the whole idea of, you know, maybe there is more to life than this lifestyle or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, because he obviously likes it, and that's what's implied, that, you know, he's like, I got a girl back home, you know, but it's implied that she wants to settle down. This guy doesn't, and he, you know, he wants that the free spirit lifestyle, and that's obviously what he's doing. But then she's like, well, you know, maybe you can write a poem kind of thing. I don't know. So I don't know. Either way, the ending's not supposed to say.
Yeah, it's just
open-ended.
Yeah. On purpose. Do you want to touch on the Amazon thing? I don't recall too much around it.
Yeah, so the whole point of contention for the movie is because obviously Amazon is well known, well documented now, at least in the past 24 months, I would say, the last couple of years. You've had all these news reports about people having to pee in bottles while they're at work, and overtime not getting paid for it, passing out, like all sorts of just like terrible work conditions. And apparently a lot of that is also covered in the book in which this is based on. Like there's interviews with nomads in the book that this is based on, where they're talking about their horrible experiences at Amazon. So one of the key hot topic for this movie is portrayal of Amazon, and saying that they're, you know, it portrays Amazon in a good light. And I thought the reason Nick didn't like the movie is possibly just because of that. And that wouldn't actually surprise me, to be honest.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either.
And I get it. Like, it's definitely, but to me, like, I've read some of these articles. I get everyone's point of view and understand it, because, you know, that it's, but the movie to me doesn't particularly take a positive or negative, or it doesn't swing too harshly. Now, the one thing people always bring up, if you say that, I've seen, is that because one of the producers said it, like, we're not really swinging a positive light. But then there's a line where Fern's like, well, Amazon pays me well. She says Amazon pays her well, and they don't really, you know, it's a throwaway line in the movie, like, it's not a big point, but she says they pay her well. I think they purposely, and I think this is what Chloe's said in interviews as much to this fact when asked about it, she said that they purposely just didn't really want to touch on that. Yeah. She said she was more interested in just telling the more human story than getting into the Amazon corporate, like, you know, like getting into workers' rights and that sort of stuff there. Like, because the movie definitely doesn't feel like it's pro corporate, you know, mega corporations and stuff. I mean, it's the first time she gets to a nomad camp, they're literally like, you know, like, fuck the man. So it feels like they purposely chose to, we don't really want to touch that, but because they still included Amazon in the movie as such a vocal point, the fact that they chose not to touch it just comes off as like, maybe you could have at least had one line or something, or just like a little scene, so it doesn't come off too like Amazon's flashy, it's a great place to work kind of thing.
No, I guess in my opinion, it wasn't really a focus of the film. That the Amazon scenes were meant to be a time marker more than anything else, I think. For this is a thing that happens. Obviously, Christmas time, end of the year, that would be the busiest period at Amazon. Thus, they bring on a bunch of seasonal workers. So
and I think it was included because in the book, a lot of them talk about doing that job because it was a job they could get.
So then she goes back. Obviously, that implies the film takes place in like a year of her life. And that's the main reason that was included, I would assume. Just an easy reference thing for the people to follow along with.
Yeah. I've seen the other thing. I've seen someone throw out like apparently Chloe's father's like some well-off businessman in China or wherever, and who moved into real estate and stuff. And I've seen people bring that up as like, oh, she's probably like pro Amazon and stuff. I'm like, there's literally a scene in a movie where Fern as a character goes off about real estate people, which I think if you look into her dad and then the fact that that's a scene in the movie, I'm like, come on, that is in there for a reason. I feel, like I cannot be reading into that too much. It feels like she has like Chloe is writing in something about the way she kind of feels about the way her father was doing work, possibly. So,
yeah, maybe. I think obviously it's interesting that it's set like 2011, right?
Yeah, it's because the financial,
yeah. But I feel like that nomad lifestyle's like become kind of a thing that like elderly people just sell up their home and like travel the country in a RV or whatever. It's kind of glamorous, they've taken it back.
That person in that scene implies like, oh, we can't just drop everything and do it. Like they seem to implying that that's the lifestyle she chose to do. Like, like, oh, I'll just sell everything and travel around the world. Whereas that's why Fern snaps back and says, oh, I just did that on purpose, did I? Let alone the fact that you don't know when her husband died, but it seems like it wasn't that far before the town collapsed. So it's like she's just been down on the luck for several years there where her husband passes, she hangs around the town collapses, she loses out everything. Like, she didn't choose that lifestyle. She got forced into homelessness, basically, and then she adopted the nomad lifestyle instead of trying to chase normality again. Like, instead of trying to find a settle back down into renting a unit or something like that, she accepted and chose the nomad life.
Cool. Yeah. So you think worthy Best Picture winner? I think, thinking back on all the films, this is the one that's probably got the most interesting themes, and it's not just a story where I feel like all the other nominees were very much plot driven. This one was definitely more character driven, which is quite different to recent Academy like Best Picture winners. Well, I guess Moonlight was kind of
Moonlight's
character driven.
It's Moonlight's. What's the story in Moonlight? There's not really a story. It's just following one person's life throughout 3 periods. So yeah, I guess. Compared to the other nominees, like it doesn't have a strict like proper A to B story or whatever. But I would still say a lot of the nominees, had their pulse on some theme in particular. Be it this one about just America during that time or what that means for today, and then the father obviously deals with.
Minari is probably the closest one to this, but
Minari is Mank is. I haven't seen Minari, but that's probably closer to this, based on what I know. But then Mank is probably the only nominee that's just straight up a movie, doesn't really have a political or social issue at hand. You know what I mean? Like it's just a movie.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about Nomadland?
No, it's really good.
Does this have you excited for the Eternals?
Yeah. Do you say that? Side note: there was a quote by Kevin Feige. How do you say his name? Feige. The other day, where he was like, "Oh man, the stuff she's Chloe's been shooting, it's really crazy what you can capture through the camera about special effects." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Anyway, yeah, I'm excited because I think as long as she wasn't, play by the Marvel handbook too much, then I feel like if she brings a pseudo documentary style to that movie, that could be really interesting. Just like the way she potentially shot it and chooses to portray the characters and stuff like that. I don't know. Like we'll find out. But hopefully when we watch the first trailer, we'll be able to go, yes, this you can tell this has a film. Yeah. You can tell this is closed out, and it's it's just not just someone directing a Marvel movie. So.
Can I mention the scene that I found the most odd in this entire film? It's when they go on that tour through like the rock field or whatever, and she just wanders off. I think it's most out of nowhere.
Just flirting.
Scene.
That was her flirting.
Was it?
Yeah, well, the guy chases her, and then she's like, "What'd you find?" She's like, "Oh, just rocks." And then she comes back up, and then he's like looking over or whatever, and she like looks back, and then she gives like a little smile or something like that. And
Okay. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's definitely the one that was up for most interpretation. Clearly. All right. Let us know what you thought of Nomadland. Did it deserve to win Best Picture? Let us know on Twitter by going to explosionet.com/Twitter. You can find all our Twitter handles there. Or you can jump to our Discord by going to explosionet.com/Discord. If you want to help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Or if you like, have some extra money in your pocket, you can head over to explosionet.com/support. You can buy us a coffee over at our Ko-fi page. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.